It seems like the situation in Uganda keeps getting tighter and harsher by the day. We're seeing our freedom of speech being curtailed, but most importantly, we're seeing that civilians are now going to be tried in a court-martial, and now this is going to be one of the most difficult situations in our country. In today's edition of Legal News Daily, it is a very sad moment because we now know that the UPDF Amendment Bill/Act has now been passed in Parliament, and now we are going to see freedom of speech and the entire constitution being curtailed more and more, and most importantly, we are going to see the fact that now civilians are going to be tried in a court-martial if at all you are suspected of holding anything military-based, and most importantly, trying to hold a military coup against the government. Well, in this edition of Legal News Daily, I want to discuss everything concerning why the UPDF Amendment Bill/Act being passed is one of the most detrimental and most difficult things that is going to happen to all Ugandans moving forward. I'm also going to discuss the impact of this, and most importantly, I'm going to discuss what Ugandans can do moving forward to fight against this act. So, welcome to Legal News Daily, and let's discuss all of this moving forward. Hello everyone, welcome back to Legal News Daily. I'm usual host Terry Kahuma on this channel, and you might be used to me giving a very bright smile on this platform, but this is actually quite a sad moment because we had it that today the UPDF Amendment Bill was passed through Parliament, and this has been one of the biggest and most heated debates in Uganda today. Why is this? Because we had the first case of Attorney General versus Kabaziguruka and others, where it was now stated that in the Kabaziguruka case back in January of this year, 2025, it was then decided that please stop the trials of civilians in the court-martial. This is one of the most monumental and biggest wins for all civilians in Uganda because it is not right for civilians to be tried in the court-martial. The court-martial is meant for acting army officers and soldiers. Now, the case of Kabaziguruka versus Attorney General was one of the biggest cases which was interlinking to Dr. Kizza Besigye and Abed Lutale. Now, why is this? Because Dr. Kizza Besigye was illegally and unlawfully abducted from Kenya. Him and Abed Lutale were attending a book launch, and then the government then claimed that these people were holding firearms, or they were claiming that they were trying to mount an insurrection against the government, meaning they were trying to commit acts of treason. Now, we find that the 5 judges in the Supreme Court, in their final judgment, they said Kabaziguruka, who was a member of parliament at that time, was also being charged for treason. And now they are stating that please stop the trials of civilians in a court-martial, and therefore all civilians should stop being tried in a court-martial. Therefore, they should be transferred to civilian court systems. Now, we all know the hierarchy of all the court systems. We know that there is a magistrates court, the chief magistrates court, the high court, the court of appeal, and most importantly, the Supreme Court. So if a decision is being given by the Supreme Court, then it should not be challenged because the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, and therefore there is no other court that you can go to once judges of the Supreme Court have given a decision on a particular case. Therefore, we find that the passing of the Attorney General versus Kabaziguruka case, in the judgment, the NRM officials, the most government officials were not happy because they are against Dr. Kizza Besigye, who has been standing against the NRM government for a very long time. Therefore, it meant that Haj Abed Lutale and Dr. Kizza Besigye were then transferred to civilian court systems. Now, by the president insisting on the passing of the UPDF Amendment Bill, he's basically saying that please, even if the Supreme Court has given a decision on this, still we want to put back the trials of civilians in the court-martial. And how are they doing this? We look at things like sections 117 that they're trying to introduce, because if you were so attentive according to the parliamentary debates concerning this UPDF Amendment Act, they were passing especially section 117 and a number of other sections where they were stating that please, even if the Supreme Court has said that civilians should stop being tried in the court-martial, we are putting this particular section and clause, especially clause 38, where they're saying that yes, civilians should not be tried in the court-martial. However, the circumstances are that they should only be tried in the court-martial if they are holding military weapons. So still, I think we can now look back and link it back to the case of Dr. Kizza Besigye. They are still trying to target him and other opposition leaders who will at any one point, maybe let's say people of Democratic Party, maybe going abroad and you're speaking to maybe military people of a particular country, then it gives the government a right to say that these people are trying to mount an insurrection or they're trying to commit acts of treason. So by introducing amendments in the UPDF Amendment Act, they are basically saying that please, even if the Supreme Court has given a decision, we are now saying that still in different circumstances we can still try you in the court-martial. Now it goes against so many articles in the Constitution, but the most important is Article 91 and Article 92, which basically say that the moment the Supreme Court has given a decision on a particular case, then no one, including a government official, government or any other person or any other judge in the judiciary, has a right to challenge a Supreme Court decision. So meaning that that by introduction of this UPDF Amendment Act, they are going in contravention against. Contravention means going against. So they are going against what the Supreme Court is saying, in that civilians should not be tried in the court martial. Now, this puts Ugandans in a very funny situation because this undermines, first of all, the judiciary. It undermines all decisions and judgments that come out of the judiciary, including rulings, and most importantly, it undermines the Constitution. So basically, we are seeing that the Constitution has not only been tampered with concerning removal of age limits, removal of term limits in relation to Article 102B in 2018, but most importantly, removal of the Supreme Court's powers to give a decision on a particular case, and the entire country stands with that decision that they are being given. The introduction of the UPDF Amendment Bill means that for Uganda, this is a very dark day. This is a day where we are now going to regret almost even ever existing in this country, because now that means that any one point, if you're ever suspected of maybe trying to acquire arms and then rise against the government, then you're going to be tried in a court martial. And we all know that treason has one of the biggest sentences where a human being can actually go through the worst sentence ever. This is a very, very tough situation for Ugandans, because this is not a good thing. By the passing of the UPDF Amendment Act and all the amendments that have come along with it, is not going to be a good situation, because that means that even with the tampering of Article 90 and 91 of the Constitutional Republic of Uganda 1995, that means that your other rights as a civilian in Uganda are going to be tampered with. Your right to freedom of expression are going to be tampered with. They're going to be undermined. Therefore, the implications of the UPDF Amendment Bill is now going to be seen in our day-to-day lives. First of all, we're going to see a number of our rights being quashed, being, most importantly, trampled on and undermined. Things like freedom of expression, things like being able to hold a weapon without a proper license being given to you. They may actually use that against you. So a number of Ugandans are going to see so many of these things affecting them in the long run. Now, most importantly, as I conclude, we're seeing that majority of the opposition MPs have now taken this UPDF Amendment Act to court in terms of a petition. But let's just see where things are going to go moving forward. We are going to see a very huge battle going on, because honestly, the trial of civilians in the court martial is something that is actually very bad in the long run. But this is the Uganda that we live in. I mean, it's truly Terry Kahuma. Please let me know what I should talk about in a future video, and most importantly, until next time, I'll see you. Bye bye.